A shadowy figure flickers through a hallway in Laguna Beach, seen once and never forgotten. A basement door closes behind a brother, but something else follows him out. And in a quiet apartment in Melbourne, a voice from the attic whispers again and again, "It's your turn. Are you ready to cross the dark line?"
Sometimes what we see in the corner of our eye isn't just a trick of the light. It's something watching, waiting, and all too real. Our first caller brings us a memory that still rushes at him from the end of the hallway. In a call he's titled, "The Shadow."
Hey, Darkline. This is Jason calling from Laguna Beach, California. I don't usually talk about this, but I think it's time I got it off my chest. This happened 17 years ago, and it still gives me chills. I was living in Laguna Beach with my new wife, and we had this old house, dated back to the 1920s. The place had history. It used to be a speakeasy and a brothel, even a smuggling house at one point. It was weird the way it was built. Rooms connected in strange ways. Our bedroom faced this long hallway, and I could see straight through the bathroom, across into another hallway with bedrooms. One afternoon, my wife and I got into some dumb argument. She stormed out to grab coffee and cool off, so I was home alone. I was standing at my dresser, not really thinking about anything, when I noticed something move at the edge of my vision. I looked up, and I swear, I saw this black figure, maybe 3 feet tall, vaguely human-shaped, but it looked wrong. It wasn't solid. It was like black scribbles, moving, almost like static or lightning. I know that sounds crazy. At first, I wasn't scared, more like, what the hell is that? But then, it noticed me. It didn't turn exactly. It just focused on me. And that's when the fear hit. I couldn't move. I was frozen. It started rushing toward me, down the hall. Fast. No sound. Just this flickering blur charging right at me. And then, just as it entered the bathroom, the door slammed shut in its face. Hard. I screamed. Called for my wife, but she wasn't home. I ran outside and didn't go back in until she got back, maybe 10 minutes later. Look, I don't believe in ghosts. I still don't know what I saw, but I saw something. That's not just a memory. It's burned into my brain. I don't have an explanation, and I've never seen it again. But I think about it more often than I'd like to admit.
That description, black scribbles, like static, moving, it's one of the most vivid I've heard. And it lines up with so many reports of shadow entities that don't follow the rules of physical space. I mean, he says it didn't walk, it rushed, and the fear hit him like a wave the moment it noticed him. That's not just adrenaline, that's presence.
Presence, maybe, but not necessarily paranormal. The fact that he was just in a fight with his wife is actually important. Elevated cortisol, emotional dysregulation, it's the perfect storm for a hypnopompic hallucination. He wasn't asleep, but stress-induced microsleep or dissociation can trigger perceptual anomalies, especially in a space that's already unfamiliar or maze-like.
Sure, but this wasn't a flicker or vague outline. He saw movement, shape, intention, and the door slammed shut, on its own, right before it reached him. That's not stress, that's interaction.
And it could be coincidence. Older homes settle. A shift in pressure from an open window, maybe the back door catching wind, it can cause an interior door to slam, especially if the floor plan's chaotic, like he described.
I'm not ruling out old architecture doing weird things, but the symbolism is hard to ignore. A dark, undefined entity coming after him right after a fight with someone he loves. And the bathroom door, where we clean ourselves, reset. It stops the thing from reaching him. That almost feels archetypal, like the house itself protected him.
Or he protected himself. By subconsciously inventing something so extreme, it forced his brain to override the stress and run. Fear as a reboot function. We underestimate what the mind will do to get us moving.
Okay, but let's say he imagined it. That doesn't explain the physicality of the moment. Why do so many people describe these shadow figures the same way? Scribbled edges, movement without noise, a sense of being watched or targeted. even in different cultures.
Because our brains are wired to see human forms in ambiguity. It's called pareidolia. Combine that with emotional conflict, historical context, he knew the house had a seedy past, and you've got the perfect mental canvas.
But isn't that the point? The idea that old places retain things? He describes that hallway like a liminal space, transitional, between rooms. And liminal spaces have been spiritually charged in folklore for centuries. Doorways, thresholds, they're where the veil thins.
And yet nothing followed him out. Nothing touched him. This is a one-time event. If it were environmental or recurring, I'd be more inclined to question the usual variables. But to me, it sounds like a spike in emotional and cognitive stress meeting architectural oddity. It's terrifying but explainable.
Except he doesn't want it to be explainable. You can hear it in his voice. This isn't just fear, it's reverence. Whatever he saw, it carved a groove in him. That's not something time wears away easily.
Fear rarely fades cleanly, especially when it doesn't come with closure.
And sometimes, fear shows us something real, even if no one else can see it. Don't turn on the lights just yet. We'll be back with call 2 in a moment.
Basements are for storage, rehearsals, and sometimes things that don't want to be seen. Our next caller shares a family story passed around like folklore, but there's one detail they've never been able to explain. We call this one Ghost Bro.
Hi, Wilder. Hi, Sophia. This is Elias, calling from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Been listening since episode 1. This one's actually about my brother, and it's one of our family's favorite ghost stories, if you can call it that. We grew up in this old house, built in 1904. Wood frame, creaky floors, big basement with partitions, and an old boiler right in the middle. We'd all had strange experiences there over the years, but this one still freaks me out. So, around 10 years ago, my brother was playing in a Spanish rock band with his friends. They'd practice in our basement every Sunday, usually until about 8 p.m. One evening after they wrapped up, they decided to head to a friend's place. My brother gave his car keys to one of the guys so they could load up equipment, and everyone filed out. Through the back stairs, kitchen, hallway, then out to the porch. As my brother's walking up the stairs, he remembers he left his leftover pancakes in a takeout box on top of a speaker. He decides to go back. That's when it happens. The basement isn't open. It's all weird corners and shadows. He walks in, and out of the corner of his eye, he sees a figure. Just a shadow. But wrong. He says this wave of dread hit him. And we were always told, if you ever feel something off, either say a prayer or curse at it. So he did. He just goes, "Hey, you, I don't have time for this." Then he grabs the box and starts walking out. Lights off behind him, doors shut. He says he could feel something behind him, but never looked. The last light switch was by the front door, and as he hit it, the whole house went dark. He stepped outside, shut the door, jogged to his truck. All his friends were already inside. He gets in, starts buckling his seatbelt, and one of them asks, "Hey, what about your brother? Isn't he coming with us?" And my brother's like, "He's not home. He left for work earlier. Didn't you notice his car's gone?" And the guy in the passenger seat turns and says, "So, who was walking behind you when you left the house?"
Okay, so I'll admit it. This one got me. The way Elias delivers that final line, I actually felt it. But let's start with what we know. His brother is alone in a house with a long history, one they've already framed as haunted. That preloading matters.
No, this isn't just a legend passed down. His brother lived it. And there's a second witness. That's not suggestion. That's resonance. And it's not about what he saw. It's about what someone else saw after he was already gone.
But how reliable is that second witness? Group memory can mutate quickly, especially with something as emotionally charged as fear. He could have seen a shadow, a trick of the light, and just interpreted it.
Or he saw a presence that wanted to be seen. I keep coming back to how the entity didn't make itself known until his brother turned his back. It's the classic, "don't look behind you" motif. Almost every culture has a version of that. Spirits that trail you, shadows that mimic. And the fact that the house went dark as he left? That's symbolic. Lights out equals threshold crossed.
Or the breaker tripped. That's common in older homes when someone flips the last light switch. And this family expects the paranormal. They've mythologized that basement for years, which makes it more likely to produce real emotional responses from mundane events.
But it wasn't mundane for them. His brother cursed at it. He felt dread. That's instinct. Animals feel it. Kids feel it. And most people who encounter shadow figures describe the same thing. Dread without context. The emotional weight of something that doesn't belong.
And dread can be learned. Their family passed down, if you see something, pray or curse. That belief system creates the experience loop. It turns every creak into confirmation.
But explain the passenger's line. Who was walking behind you? That's the hook. If it's made up, it's a brilliant fabrication. But if it's true, even if only true to the people who lived it, it suggests there was more than fear in that house. There was a presence.
Or a mistake. Low lighting, a reflection, confirmation bias. It doesn't take much for the brain to fill in another figure, especially when you expect one.
That's fair. But isn't it interesting that this entity doesn't interact? It just follows, like it's attached to the energy in the house, or to him. It's not attacking, it's observing. And maybe being seen was enough.
Then why hasn't it shown up since?
Maybe it was never about the brother. Maybe it was about that moment. Anger, music, history, fear, all colliding in a charged place. The kind of thing that opens a door, just wide enough.
Or maybe it's just a really good story, one they've told so many times. It became real. Don't go far. The final call of the night that is just ahead.
Our last call takes us deep into the night, where a fragile ceiling board, a whispering attic, and a missing bird leave behind more than just questions. This one's called The Eerie Attic.
Hi, Sophia. This is Chloe, calling from Melbourne, Australia. And this happened a few years back, when I moved into a one-bedroom flat by myself, first time living alone. The place was built in the 1930s. It had this strange charm to it, until it didn't. So, I came home from work one day and walked into the bathroom, and I noticed the wooden board that usually covered the hole to the attic was on the floor, broken in two. Now this board? It was thick. No way it just cracked on its own. I figured the landlord had sent someone up there without telling me, so I emailed her a photo. She replied, "Please call me as soon as you are able to." When I did, she told me, kind of nervously, that the last two tenants had reported the exact same thing. Said she'd get it replaced, and she did. A month later, around 4 a.m., I woke up with full-body goosebumps. It felt like someone was touching me. The whole room was silent. Then I heard it. A dragging noise above me. Like someone pulling something heavy, like a sack of potatoes, across the attic. Not an animal. This was deliberate. I was frozen. After 5 minutes, I finally got up, grabbed a cricket bat, and went to the bathroom, and the new board split in two again. That's when I heard it, whispering from above. Kids' voices, repeating the same thing over and over. "It's your turn. It's your turn." I turned on every light I could. It was still dark outside. I tried watching telly to calm down. And then the power went out. My budgie, Dexter, who never makes a sound at night, suddenly started screeching like he was being attacked. I ran out of the flat and sat in my car until morning. When I finally went back in, the front door was open, but I couldn't remember if I'd shut it. I went to check on Dexter, and he wasn't in his cage. I searched everywhere. And then I heard splashing. I found him, half drowned, in the toilet. I pulled him out, washed him off, and just sat there, totally stunned. I called the landlord again and told her what happened, leaving some stuff out so I wouldn't sound insane, and she said, without hesitation, "Oh, wow. You heard the whispering too?" I stayed for another 1.5 years. The whispering came back sometimes. The board moved again. But I'm gone now. And recently, the landlord rang me. Her new tenants want to talk to me about what's been happening. I didn't call them back. It's their problem now.
So we've got whispering children, a fragile ceiling barrier, and a bird that ends up in the toilet. That's not a story. It's a warning wrapped in a ritual. Chloe isn't just experiencing a haunting. She's caught in something that wants a participant.
Or she's just experiencing the compounded effects of sleep deprivation, anxiety, and isolation. First apartment, strange architecture, waking up at 4 a.m. None of this needs to be paranormal to be terrifying.
But what about the specificity? The same board breaking twice, the same whispering heard by previous tenants. That kind of repetition across people and time suggests a pattern, not a panic.
Or a story. Trauma leaves behind traces, and when we move into spaces with history, especially emotionally charged ones, our minds can fill in gaps. Her landlord said, "You heard it too." That's not proof of a haunting, that's sharing a script.
But if it's a script, who wrote it? And why is it always a variation of "it's your turn"? That phrase is ceremonial. It's an invitation, or maybe a sentence.
Let's not forget the context. She was woken up suddenly, experiencing full-body fear. Hypnopompic hallucinations, sensory events during waking, can be vivid. You can hear voices, feel touches, even see things.
Or he was placed there. Chloe didn't say it, but I'll say what she's not. Whatever's in that attic wanted her alone. It waited, broke the barrier twice, escalated with power cuts and whispers, and finally went after the only other living thing in that space. That's intelligent haunting behavior.
Or escalating fear reactions leading to cumulative coincidence. And I don't say that to dismiss her, she was clearly affected. But living in fear, especially of something you can't confront, can make the smallest detail feel like part of a design.
When a design keeps repeating, maybe it is one. The whisper wasn't random, it had intention. It wasn't warning her, it was waiting for her answer.
And she didn't give it.
She walked away, but the question is still out there, waiting. Damien will return with his final thoughts on tonight's calls.
A hallway becomes a boundary between what's real and what rushes toward you. Some shadows flicker like static, others imprint like scars. He closed the door, but not the memory. They all left together, but not alone. The house was quiet, but something still moved. The question wasn't who followed, but why it wanted to. A voice from above that speaks only when the lights go out. Some spaces stay sealed for a reason, and sometimes it really is your turn. The dark line is quieting, for now, but it never stays quiet for long. If tonight's episode left you unsettled, awakened something, or pulled at the edges of what you believe, leave us a review, share the signal. Help keep the dark line open. If you have a story of your own, something strange, something true, or something you still don't understand, send your recording or feedback across the wire to thedarkline@outlook.com, or leave your trace directly at thedarkline.fun. For those asking, yes, a call-in number is coming. Until then, the lines are open online. For those who listen more deeply, we'll soon be releasing a newsletter, The Dark Dispatch. Inside, conversations with previous callers, case updates and recordings that never made it to air, lost to background noise, distorted signals, or truths too fractured to follow. The Dark Line is a Synergy Edge production. Created and directed by Robert Barba. Hosted by Sophia Thompson and Wilder Graves. Original music by Evan Boyerman and Sound Flakes Music. And I am Damien Talbot. Until next time, when the veil is thin, stay curious, because the unknown won't stay unknown for long.